Hey Pectus Warriors, it's Riley Byrne from fixpectus.com. In today's video, I want to talk about Pectus Excavatum and 5 myths associated with it and in the reality of that situation and what is actually the truth. First myth is that you can develop it through bad posture or you can develop it through your lifestyle. You can't develop pectus through posture, okay? Pectus is typically something you're born with, or potentially it comes and develops through puberty in your first initial growth spurt. They're the only 2 times that you can really get pectus. I've had people tell me that they got pectus through COVID, or they got pectus when they became sedentary. You probably didn't get pectus, it probably just became more noticeable via having bad posture or a worse body composition, okay? And so that is common. You know, a lot of people's pectus that I meet, I've met thousands of people with pectus on my strategy calls and coaching people, and so many people's pectus is accentuated via bad posture or via poor body composition, either being very skinny or overweight. That makes it look worse. But it's not developed because of that. It's just made noticeable probably because of that, but you probably already had it. It just wasn't as noticeable. So that's the reality of that situation. The reality is you're born with it or it develops through puberty. The next myth is that exercise will make your chest flat. Okay, now a lot of people think that I'm saying that. Now I'm not saying that. And exercise will not make your chest flat. Building muscle doesn't just lift your sternum and miraculously make your sunken chest go away, okay? If you look at my client results, none of them have achieved that. If you look at my result, like I've still got pectus, okay? In fact, there was a photo of me just before my triathlon that very much shows my pectus. Now, obviously different angles, different lighting, that will determine how obvious your pectus looks. But my pectus has been made a lot less noticeable via building muscle, but that's not because my chest has been lifted to a certain extent. It's because I built muscle around it and made a bone deformity that was very obvious when I was skinny, no longer obvious anymore, because my pec muscles are so developed around it that it's not really, like, people don't notice it. And if anything, it just makes my pecs look bigger and accentuates my physique. And it looks like it's there because I've got pecs, not because I've got a bone deformity. And that's part of what the muscle building is all about. So muscle building by no means will make your chest flat. Okay, it's important you understand that. But it will make rib flare less noticeable when you develop your abs and your oblique muscles and you strengthen your core. It will make the indent less noticeable when you develop your back. And it will make the overall condition less noticeable when you improve postures like the roll forwards, shoulders, kyphotic posture, when you improve anterior pelvic tilt, because these things make rib flare or the sunken chest more noticeable as well. So that's how exercise improves pectus, not by actually changing your chest shape. Okay, so that's really important you guys understand the truth about that situation and that exercise won't just make your sunken chest flat. The next myth is that surgery is the only way to fix pectus. Now, if your definition of fixing pectus is making your chest completely flat, surgery often doesn't even make your chest completely flat. It often makes your chest flatter, but not completely flat. A lot of the time when people remove the bars with the NUS procedure, it goes back in a little bit. I have met hundreds of people who've had a semi-successful surgery or a failed surgery. So it isn't by no means necessarily the only way to make your chest flat, because it might not even make your chest completely flat. Also, if you go around and look at most people's sternums, most people do not have a completely flat chest. Okay, a lot of people reach out to me thinking they have pectus, but it's just like a normal sternum shape. On top of that, in terms of actually lifting the chest, surgery is definitely not the only thing. So there is something called a vacuum bell that, if you are growing, will lift your chest. From my understanding, heaps of studies suggest that. I've seen it firsthand. Okay, I do not sell vacuum bells. I am in no way trying to market them. In fact, I try and steer people away from them in more cases than not, because I think you need to still be growing for it to have any kind of permanent effect. Otherwise, it's just a band-aid. It's just a temporary lift that goes back down and it's mostly just fluid. But I have seen it in firsthand with people who are 13, 14, 15, and they stop using it and they retain the lift. I've not seen that yet with an adult. It does show that that surgery is not the only option. And if people were better educated, they would know that as a kid, when they're like 10, 11, 12, that there are other options than surgery, which is great, because surgery is intense, it is scary, it is painful. And so if you can avoid it, I think it is worthwhile. The next myth is that the vacuum bell works for everyone. Okay, the vacuum bell is not going to work for everyone. There's so many adults out there that are claiming it has made their chest flat, and therefore people are under the impression that it will work for everyone. So everyone's ordering the vacuum bell. I got fooled by it. I thought it worked for adults. But the reality is every adult that has ever said it works for them are still using it. So it hasn't actually changed their structure. They're just retaining the lift, okay? It goes back down over a period of time and they just keep using it, so they keep the lift, okay? So the vacuum bell does not work for everyone. It is a medical device. You should seriously consult with your doctor. You should try and get it through your medical system. It is not the right solution for everyone. And from my understanding, as I said before, you need to still be growing. So I would not recommend you go and just buy a vacuum belt if you are fully grown. However, I'm doing more research into this. I have had a few people claim to me that it has made a permanent change, and I'm like, well, jump on a call with me. Let's talk about it. Do you have documents? Do you have photos to document your progress? No one's come through with that yet. Waiting to get more answers. And then the last myth is that you can't have a good body with Pectus excavatum. Well, I hope you think I've got a good body. Look at my client results. I hope you think they do. You certainly can have a good body with Pectus. In fact, if you have a mild case, I think it is a good thing. It will help you have a more aesthetic body because it will help make your chest look bigger. When I experimented with the vacuum belt, when I was thinking that it could make a permanent change and I just wanted to see for you guys, I stopped using it because I didn't like that it made my chest look smaller by giving me lift. So yes, you can definitely have a good body with Pectus. And even if you have a more moderate case, a more severe case than me, you can still make it look good. You can still build a body that you are proud of. A good body is a subjective thing. And so many of us, our mentality, our psychology, our perception of self is so skewed due to Pectus. But if you asked an average person looking at you, they would say you look great. It's really something you can work with, and it shouldn't define the fact that you can't have a good body, because of course you can. Now, obviously Pectus does vary in severity, and in severe cases, it's going to make it hard to have an aesthetically pleasing body, and I totally understand that. But in mild cases, you definitely can achieve a very aesthetic body. So guys, they're the 5 myths. I hope that cleared up some misconceptions that are out there, and I hope you guys have a better understanding of the reality of Pectus, the truth of those myths, and how you can then go about treating your Pectus. If you are interested in improving your Pectus through exercise, then I would recommend you book a strategy call with me at my website, fixpectus.com. Book a call. I'd love to meet you. Then I can determine what's going to be the best solution for you and get you on a program, and then help you overcome your Pectus and make it look a lot less noticeable with my training.